There was a step in the right direction made by a particular quarterback in Saturday's scrimmage for the Silver and Black. We'll tell you all about it on Monday's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast for August 5th, 2024.
You are Locked On Raiders, your daily Las Vegas Raiders podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome in, Raider Nation, to another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thanks so much for making the show your first listen of the day. Make sure you subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts to get the latest edition of the show as soon as it becomes available. And as always, if you're checking us out on YouTube, you know we appreciate that. The show grows each and every day, and that's because of your support and because of my man Ari, who does a fantastic job each and every day making sure we're on YouTube, we're looking good, and we're sounding good. We shout him out. We appreciate him. You can check him out on Twitter at Ari Produces. You can hit me up as well at your boy Q254. And you want to be a part of the show, we got the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line at 707-654-4693. Normally we'll have your calls and texts coming up in segment number 3, but today we won't, only because on Saturday we had an opportunity to catch up with multiple assistant coaches on the offensive side of things. So in segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast, you'll actually hear from offensive line coach James Cregg. I had an opportunity to catch up with him, Levi Edwards from Raiders.com, Silver and Black Productions. Me and him both kind of tag team that conversation. So you'll hear that coming up in segment number 3. Talk all things offensive line. Talk about, JPJ, Colton Miller not being there and the guys that are there and what they're doing. That's all coming up in segment number 3. Segment number 2, we'll keep that theme rolling. I had an opportunity to catch up with RB Cadillac Williams on Saturday before the scrimmage as well. Really good conversation, and I really wanted to focus on the offensive line and the running back room just because now that the pads are on, I thought that was a time for them to shine. The offensive linemen and obviously the running backs. They really haven't had that opportunity in training camp until the pads finally came on last week on Tuesday. So that's why I wanted to really talk to those coaches in particular. So you'll hear the conversation I had with Cadillac Williams coming up in segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Here is segment number 1, just news and notes of the day, and really just kind of go over the scrimmage that we saw on Saturday at the Jack Hammett Sports Complex in Costa Mesa, California. We'll get to that after I tell you about today's sponsor, title sponsor, which is FanDuel. Make every moment more. And the summer's rolling down. Sports are running down. They're starting to wind down, it feels like. But the sports never stop sporting when it comes to FanDuel. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. Something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started today. I'll tell you more about them later on in the show, but talked about it late last week, 3 players that I wanted to see or hear more from. Matter of fact, that was on Friday's show, since on Thursday was an off day. I wanted to see more from Tyree Wilson, wanted to see more from Trey Tucker, wanted to see more from DeCam Richardson. And I'll say this, on Saturday at the scrimmage, there was a Tyree Wilson sighting, right? I said it, and I let it be known that he hasn't really done a whole lot during training camp that really stood out. Was like, okay, that was a big moment. Hadn't really seen too much of that. Saturday, there was a couple moments. There was an opportunity for him to get a sack, or it would have been a sack that he got. I think it was on Aiden O'Connell. But Tyree Wilson, you started to hear his number called a little bit on Saturday at the scrimmage. So, again, he still needs to continue to ramp up. It wasn't where it needs to be, but you can see that he's trying to put in the work. Trey Tucker, I got to give him props. He's had a really good Friday and Saturday. The 2 practices back-to-back. He did, I should say, a good job with that, because Trey was having a pretty bad camp as of late, and then on Friday he started to turn that around, and Saturday did the same thing. Had a couple touchdown catches and started to show what he could do, especially with all that speed. And it's just, at some point, he's just got to slow down without slowing down, right? The process has got to slow down. Everything's got to slow down so he's able to do it, but he's still got to be able to go the same speed that he always goes, right? I mean, because that speed that he has is what separates him from just a regular wide receiver. So Trey Tucker did better on Friday and Saturday. And DeCam Richardson, he just continues to do what he's doing. Matter of fact, there was a play on Saturday and during the scrimmage that he made where he just kind of basically reached around the wide receiver and knocked the ball away, had a nice PBU, a pass breakup in the end zone. And it's funny, I was standing there next to Omar Ruiz from the NFL Network, and he said, "Oh, that's the one you told me to look out for, DeCam right there." I said, "Yeah, he's got the size, he's got the speed, he's just a little bit raw." And he said, "Yeah, I could see that. The play he made, if he's a little bit more seasoned veteran, that's an interception going the other way as opposed to just a PBU. but he was able to see that, okay, this guy has an opportunity. So DCAM, he just needs to continue to do what he's doing. He's a 4th-round pick, not expected to be, some kind of starter or some kind of major contributor right now on defense anyway. So as long as he continues to grow, when his number is called, he will be ready to go. But really want to go back to Saturday and talk about, the scrimmage, and it was a really good one. There was a lot of energy. There was a lot of folks in the building, like Mark Davis was in the building, Greg Townsend was in the building, TJ Hujmanzada was in the building. There was a lot of former players in the building. George Atkinson was in the building. Just a whole lot of folks. The fans obviously is very limited, just based off of what's going on, where it's only a few season ticket holders and sponsors that are allowed to be there. But you could just tell on that scrimmage on Saturday that the energy was just a little bit different. And I'll say this, every time there's any kind of practice, we're always focusing in on the quarterback. Who's going to take a step in the right direction? AP told us that, hey, we want to see consistency. That's one of the big things that I'm looking for in this quarterback battle. So he said, hey, Gardner Minshew had a really good day on Wednesday. He'd like to see him continue to build it. Friday, I thought Gardner Minshew did a good job. And there were some that were saying, hey, he's leading this quarterback competition, and I kept saying it as a Friday that I felt like it was pretty even still. I didn't think that Gardner took a step in the right direction. Not a step in the right direction, but a step forward where he started to leave Aiden a little bit in the dust. But I will say this, on Saturday, it was no question that Gardner Minshew was the better quarterback. No question at all. I've said it before. I think that Aiden O'Connell is going to win this quarterback competition, but if Gardner Minshew has a few more days like what he did on Saturday, and then he goes to Minnesota next week for the preseason game, and then the Cowboys and the 49ers respectfully after that to close out the preseason, if he's starting to have days like he had on Saturday, there'll be no question that he's the starting quarterback, because he definitely looked a lot more comfortable. His feet have become a factor, not even just trying to run and pick up yardage, but just rolling out, moving the pocket. He just looks a lot more comfortable in that mold, right? But it's crazy because you'll see Gardner Minshew make a really good play, and you're like, okay, that's a really good play. Then you'll see Aiden O'Connell stand tall in the pocket and deliver the ball downfield, and you're like, dang, man, that dude's got an arm. He's got an arm, and he's accurate. If you could combine the two, if you can make Gardner Minshew and his mobility be Aiden O'Connell, Aiden O'Connell with his arm strength and his size, he'd be a hell of a quarterback, right? He wouldn't have been a 4th-round pick. He'd have been a 1st-round pick. But obviously, that's not the case, right? I mean, he's got what he's working with, and he's trying to make it work the best he can. And for a practice on Saturday night that was live for most of the practice, I had a couple people on the sideline say, man, have you ever seen a practice that was live for this long? And I hadn't, right? And so that was cool to see. Obviously, they're in full pads, but I think this team is going to be tough. That's what that kind of told me when you're starting to see these guys out there and they're going through all these live sessions and it's one after the other after the other. This team is going to be a tough team. And I mean just toughness, right? They're going to be strong. They're going to be chiseled. They're going to be calloused up. So they're going to be ready to go for the regular season, where most teams, they use, the first 4 games of the season to get into football shape. AP is trying to do everything he can in his ability to make sure that the Raiders are in football shape week 1 when they're taking on the Chargers at SoFi Stadium. So all in all, just looking at the scrimmage, like I said, I thought that Gardner Minshew did a better job just controlling the offense, controlling the huddle, doing what he can do. But, other guys stepped up on the defensive side of things that, they've obviously been doing their thing the whole training camp. The defense has been really good, but it's not always the same suspects, right? It's not always the same names that are coming up and making plays. I mentioned earlier the DeCam Richardson play in the end zone. I thought that was good. Jack Jones had a tip ball that he got for an interception. Isaiah Palomar always ends up around the ball and continues to end up around the ball. So he's continuing to make really good plays. And Max Crosby was Max Crosby. Matter of fact, he even hit Gardner Minshew. One of the first plays of the scrimmage, the quarterbacks got the red jerseys on, so that means that they're not supposed to be touched at all. Max Crosby came just screaming off the edge and literally hit Minshew and knocked him down. And it's funny, I looked over at one of the beat writers that cover the Raiders, and I said, well, looks like they're going to have to give Max a day off so they can get some work in, because he's continuing to wreck the practice and making it really difficult on the quarterbacks. But, yeah, he was amped up from the jump, like I said, going out there and hitting the quarterback. I was like, dang. I mean, it's not like he was trying to hurt him or anything, but he was just going so fast that's just how it goes, and that's what happens. And so they try not to hit the quarterback. Obviously, that's why they have their red jersey on, but every once in a while, it does happen. But I'll say this. If AP is looking for consistency from the quarterback position, so far, multiple days, it's been Gardner Minshew. Right now, we'll see what it looks like today. We'll see what it looks like on Tuesday, and we'll see what it looks like on Wednesday, and then they'll break camp and make their way to Minnesota for the first preseason. And I don't think that this quarterback competition is going to be decided in practice setting. I think it's going to be decided in the game setting. But again, if you're looking for a positive step from one of the two quarterbacks, and we're talking about separation, that there was none, Gardner Minshew starting to create a little bit of separation in the quarterback competition. Again, you'll see and you'll know it when you see it, and I think you won't know it until you see it in actual game setting, one of these preseason games, and I'm sure that they're going to have to play all three of them, right, to determine who the quarterback is going to be. But Saturday was definitely a step in the right direction for Gardner Minshew. It wasn't like it was a fantastic practice. It wasn't like all of a sudden he's going to be mistaken for an elite quarterback. That's not the case, but it was better than what we saw. And to be honest, Aiden O'Connell wasn't great. He wasn't great. He did have a nice, couple touchdown passes, or one touchdown pass that he threw on Saturday night as opposed to the two that Gardner Minshew threw on Saturday night. But, Aiden doesn't look bad, but Gardner Minshew at this stage of the game just looks better. So that's what I got for you. Just kind of real broad stroke of what was going on at practice on Saturday, and just to let it be known that Gardner Minshew definitely has taken a lead if you're keeping track and keeping score at home. Coming up in segment number 2, had an opportunity to catch up with a lot of different offensive coaches, assistant coaches on Saturday before the scrimmage. You'll actually hear from Carnell Cadillac Williams. I had a chance to sit down one-on-one with him. You'll hear that conversation next here on the Locked On Raiders podcast. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about BetterHelp. And I do want to ask the question, what are your self-care non-negotiables? You might not skip leg day. You might not skip the gym at all, or you might not skip therapy day. When your schedule is packed with kids, activities, big work projects, and more, it's easy to let your priorities slip. Even when we know what makes us happy, a lot of times it's hard to make time for it. But when you feel like you have no time for yourself, non-negotiables like therapy are more important than ever. If you're thinking of starting therapy, you should give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you got to do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched up with a licensed therapist. Switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Never skip therapy day. With BetterHelp, visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOn today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/LockedOn. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Time to jump into my conversation I had with running back coach Cadillac Williams. We had an opportunity to catch up with many of the offensive assistant coaches on Saturday before the scrimmage, from wide receivers coach Edgar Bennett, offensive line coach James Cregg. You'll hear that conversation segment of 3. QB coach Rich Scangarello, tight ends coach Luke Steckel, passing game coordinator Scott Turner, and running back coach Carnell Williams. Matter of fact, speaking of Scott Turner, the passing game coordinator, his dad, Norv Turner, obviously a very sharp offensive mind in the NFL, longtime coach in the NFL, very sharp mind, was actually at Raiders scrimmage as well. I said it in segment number 1 that there was a lot of folks there in attendance. It was a who's who of people that were there, and Norv Turner was one of them. So just a little side note, since we did get a chance to talk to passing game coordinator Scott Turner, who is his son. But I got an opportunity to sit down with Coach Carnell Cadillac Williams, right? The pads came on last Tuesday, and I just wanted to make sure I talked to the running back coach, since that's the time when the running backs actually get an opportunity to shine, is once the pads come on. So here's that conversation from Saturday before the Raiders scrimmage with Coach Carnell Cadillac Williams. So when the pads come on, the running backs can do something.
That's right.
What have you seen from that running back room once the pads came on?
Oh, man, personally, I see the physicality. And, as a running back, man, that's something that you have to be able to do, is run behind your pads, break tackles, to play, be physical. Just at the point of attack, again, I am excited for that room because, as you know, we've been in OTAs and the running back position, man, is when you get the pass on, that's when we show up. So I'm super excited about this scrimmage this evening.
What have you seen from Zamir in particular? He's a guy who worked on his body. He's been getting in shape, getting ready to get this role and get this opportunity. What have you seen from him in particular?
Wow, man, I just don't watch them grow from OTAs, first of all, just within the offense. It's night and day from where he was OTAs to now. And, and then, a young man, you tell he's humble, but he's hungry, man.
Yeah.
You tell, he's been, waiting patiently. So now he get his opportunity to kind of be in that lead dog role. So me personally, man, I'm super excited for him. He's working his tail off. He's a big physical back, man, that can break tackles, got really good vision, can catch out of the backfield. So he brings a lot of things to the offense, man, and we are super excited about it.
I was talking to James Cregg, the offensive line coach, and I asked him how beneficial can this offensive line scheme, the blocking scheme, be for the running backs? And Alexander Madison's obviously been in this before. Zamir's learning it, right? Lobby's in there. But just from your perspective, how beneficial can this running game be, really?
This offense is running back friendly.
Yeah.
I love this outside zone that we get to run, where guys get to really press their track in one cut, get vertical, getting guys on safety, cornerbacks. And then, we can sprinkle in there the inside zone from the duo. So just the diversity that we can do within the run game. So it's a running back dream, honestly, to be in this offense, because, it's so many things that, tie in, that you have to be good up front. You have to be good in the run game in order for, this thing to operate right. So, they putting that pressure on that room, but we're embracing it and looking forward to it.
I want to take you back to OTAs. I studied and watched you guys a lot, right, and watched your coaching, and it was a lot of fundamentals. It was a lot of protect the ball and take this step, take that step, don't over. How important was it to get the fundamentals down first, even though it might seem like second nature, but it was important for you? You were really stressing those fundamentals.
You know what? It's so important. These guys are in the 1% of this league because of their athletic ability and what they can do with the football in their hands. But sometimes what people fail to realize is, if you can stress the little things and have the ability to get a mindset that the way you do the little things, the way you do everything. So the big plays, all that stuff will come because the good Lord done did his part, done blessed them. So now, to me, being a former player that played the position, man, it's all about the little things. It's all about your eyes. It's all about your track. It's all about keeping the ball high and tight. So those are some of the things that I overcoach to reiterate those guys and let them know that keep it simple, because you guys are good enough. So, those are the things I always try to harp on.
What has this opportunity been like for you to be the running backs coach of the Las Vegas Raiders?
Oh my God! I'm truly blessed for this opportunity. I think I can't stop thanking AP every time, Coach AP every time I see him. Hey man, I appreciate you that call, but. This is a great opportunity. For my family and I, and this Raiders organization. It done been first class. Just the people, and that's what I love.
Right.
About all this. Not just from the coaches and everybody, but from the trainers. From the department staff, or the different people who evaluate the players. Everybody is just. Trying to chase excellence and trying to do what's best for these players, but also for the Raiders organization. So it's been truly a blessing for me.
It feels like the coaches all really match the room really well, like you in the running back room and other coaches like Coach Manning in the secondary and, Alexander in the safety room. It just seems like the coaches match really well with the players. You notice that as well?
100%. I truly agree, because, I have been on some staff where you look and, they have no clue.
Yeah.
But I think, here, man, like everybody's relatable, everybody's approachable, and I think that starts from the top with Coach AP. I mean, that's what he exemplifies each and every day. And I think us coaches, man, we just fall in for him. I mean, he's one of the hardest workers I done seen head coaches. I mean, he leads by example, so it's like, whenever you can watch the head guy, do the small things and take care of the way he treat people, like everybody falls in line.
Right, and they're doing that. Final question for you. What have you seen from Dylan Lobby? I know he's probably going to make his way by way of special teams, but it seems like he's getting a lot of love on offense as well.
Let me tell you, I am excited about that young man. One thing that separates him is his mindset. I mean, we know he's talented. He can catch out of backfield, got good vision, explosive, can run through tackles. But man, his mindset, he is determined. He's a determined individual that definitely take care of the little things and handle the little things. And he's a student of the game, man. He's very, very coachable, and he know how to take what you said in the classroom onto the field, and he don't make many mistakes, and that's impressive by a rookie, a guy that's trying to learn, this offense, because it is a complex offense.
Right.
So, man, I am excited about the young man.
Really good stuff, and I'm so glad that the Raiders make these coaches available like they do. So you get to know them, you get to hear from them, you get to understand what they're looking for and what they're seeing in their certain position group. And so Cadillac Williams, I see him and watch him and, kind of study how he's out there and he's coaching up his players. And I just think that he's doing a great job. And that experience that he has as being a former player, clearly in my mind, is going a long ways. And this coaching staff that AP has put together, you got a lot of young guys, you got a lot of older guys. I mean, they got 29 coaches on their staff, so they've got a really good, healthy blend, and plus a few coaches that also were players, just like Cadillac Williams. So that's what I have for you for segment number 2 in today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Coming up, segment number 3, offensive line coach James Cregg. Got an opportunity to catch up with him on Saturday, as well as myself and Levi Edwards from Raiders.com and Silver and Black Productions. You'll hear that coming up in segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about the title sponsor of the show, which is FanDuel. And anyone who's ever listened to me knows that I love sports. I love them so much that I never want to see them go. I never want to see them turn off, to the point I'll even watch the old game, right? And I guess we could do that with the Olympics, right? Because a lot of the activities and the events that happen in the Olympics are on tape delay, and so we'll see it a little bit later, but I don't mind. I'll love it, man. We could watch sports and I could watch replays all day and have no problem. Well, with FanDuel, you don't have to worry about replay. FanDuel lets all your sports keep going whenever you want. All you got to do is open up the app, dream up bets anytime you're in the mood. And all summer long, FanDuel's hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Here we go, Raider Nation, segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. No calls and texts today, as we normally do, but you'll hear from offensive line coach James Cregg, another coach that I wanted to make sure we had an emphasis on Saturday before the scrimmage, talking to him because, well, the offensive line looks a lot different when there's pads on as opposed to not having pads on. Just like I talked to Cadillac Williams because, well, that's the running back room. They look a lot different with pads on. So I wanted to make sure to focus in on those certain position groups that really could benefit from having the pads on. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the conversation that myself and Levi Edwards from Raiders.com and Silver and Black Productions had with offensive line coach James Cregg. What have you seen so far from the offensive line, especially with a couple of your guys that aren't available in Colton and JPJ?
Yeah, you know what? Guys are improving daily. Obviously from spring to camp, you're going to get that improvement. With guys, knowing the drills and what have you, and it's not their first time through them. So for them, and then, obviously it'd be great to have the full unit, and there's some guys that are missing. There's a lot of pieces that are missing in this equation, but I've been really pleased with how the guys have been working and how they've responded.
How key is that to have those veterans there that can fill in the spot right now with Pete and
It's huge.
Yeah.
And just their their demeanor, like, as far as like, Cody Whitehair, you got Andrews Pete, Andre James, just veteran guys that sort of carry the weight in the room right now while those other guys are coming back. It's been really good. I've been really happy to have that.
It seemed like they had a chip on their shoulder because they didn't have their pads on, and so the defensive line was kind of getting them. And then when they put the pads on, you saw something.
There's certain things you can't do, and the off-season program, the NFL limits you on what you can and cannot do, and it's hard to obviously run the football and have great technique when you can't really put a pad on a pad or can't finish and do those kinds of things. But it's just been great to get the pads on and just watch these guys do their technique and just keep getting better. It's been fun to watch.
I don't mean to break in, but
you're good.
The guy that's kind of been around the room, Richie Incognito, can you just talk about what your opinion was him when he was a player, and also just how cool is it for him to be back around the guys and how he's been able to help? Yeah, physical mindset, great. I've actually coached with a guy that's coached in Buffalo, so been fortunate enough to watch a lot of his tape and just to see how he plays, the style he plays. It's been great to have him around, especially for our interior players, and just his mindset, what he brings to the table and how he goes about, how he works and his physicality. It's been cool for him to be out here at practice and share some of that with the guys. You have a guy like that coming in, is it one of those things where he just offers his hand, he just says, hey, I'm going to pull up and help you guys out? How does that come about? You know what? I think his relationship with AP and Coach Pierce and him reaching out to him, and it's just I don't know if this is where he lives out here, but it's just been great to have him out here every day. But I know he has a great relationship with Coach Pierce, and it's just been great to have him out here. Also, a rookie that's come in, DJ Glaze, obviously he's going in and got a couple of really good reps throughout training camp. What have you seen so far that you like? You know what? Just his demeanor. He doesn't get fazed by anything. He's real. It's not relaxed. He's real. He doesn't get. It's not too big for him, which is good to see. Usually rookies sometimes get overwhelmed. It becomes too big for him, and for him, it's not that way. That's just his demeanor. That's his personality. I've been really pleased to see him, and it's been great to have him step up, and I know he's going to keep getting better as he keeps getting more reps. Yeah.
Thayer Mumford in the spring said, the Raiders don't need a right tackle. I'm that guy.
Yeah.
What have you seen from Thayer so far?
He's been, good, just learning the system. It is, obviously it's a new system, and it takes time and belief and trust in doing it, and he's gotten better every time he's been out here. And obviously with him going down and DJ stepping up and us seeing that and him doing it when Thayer did go down, it's great to have more competition. The more you have, the better everybody's going to be. It was just great to see that out there. I didn't wish that upon Thayer getting hurt, obviously, but he came back and he's going to be fine. It's just a finger issue, I believe, with him, but he's back, and it's good. It's good, great competition to have that. So,
how beneficial can this offensive blocking scheme that they're doing for the running game as well, right? I mean, you see Madison, he looks like he's so comfortable. Zamir's getting more comfortable. How beneficial can that be?
It's huge because it's real simple. Run to the spot and make your cut. And then it's our job up front to sort of match the runner and press and do our thing. And it just allows us to play fast, not think, and just be on point with everything we do. So, it's great to have those guys. Obviously they're mirrored to us, and we play, all 11. It's going to take all 11, even the wide receivers, staying connected with our run game and what we do. So it's been fun to see those backs, and they're starting to understand it and see it, especially when the pads come on. Like you said earlier, we could go full speed and actually run our runs, and they can see it full speed and now have a vision of what we're asking them to do. Also, when you think about the offensive line position, it's a big physical position, but when you look at this scheme and what's trying to be implemented, do you think speed is a lot more of a priority now amongst this offense? Yeah, I mean, we have the guys to do it. The guys are athletic. They're built for this system. And it's fun to see how they're, like, again, we're starting to understand the technique. The light's starting to come on, and what better way to fit against our defense? And we've got a quality defense. They do a heck of a job over there. PG does a great job coaching those guys, and it's a good front. It's fun to see our guys gain confidence and sort of develop that. Hopefully they'll get that swagger by the end of preseason, and they'll have it. They're gaining it every day, and hopefully it'll happen again today. So we'll see.
How much confidence does that give you going up against that defense? You're seeing what the offensive line is able to do. You're feeling like, okay, they're where they need to be at this stage.
Yeah, they're right where, in fact, I envision them being. To be quite honest, we drill fast, we do everything quick, but obviously, like I said earlier, we don't get to do it in the OTAs because we're limited on what we can do and how hard we can push guys and do it, with the rules and everything. And just seeing our guys come out and apply the drills to the team stuff, it's been really cool to see. And by all means, we got a ways to go, but it's a cool first step.
So there it is. There it was right there. That was our conversation with offensive line coach James Cregg. He comes over from the 49ers. I'm excited about the offensive line, the blocking scheme. I think it really gives an opportunity for these running backs to be really good. You heard me ask Carnell Cadillac Williams in segment number 2 about that as well, and got to talk to James Cregg about that as well. It really can help out the running backs become big-time role players in this offense, right? Big-time role players. I think the offensive line, the blocking scheme is going to do some wonders for, Zamir White, Alexander Madison, who's been in it before. Dylan Lobby is a guy that's going to be added into the mix sooner rather than later as far as I'm concerned. I just think that it's really a good blocking scheme. We've seen what's going on in San Francisco for so many years, and we all know that they have a very strong running game, whether it's running with C-Mac, giving the ball to Deebo Samuel, or whatever the case may be. Their offensive line scheme always seems to fit the running backs really well. So hopefully you enjoyed that conversation with the offensive line coach, James Cregg. Coming up tomorrow, we'll talk about Monday's practice. We'll have an opportunity to talk to Antonio Pierce early this morning. We're also going to be talking to an official, and we're going to talk to him about what's going on as far as the kickoff rule, just a further explanation. We're actually going to talk to him around 8-something this morning. It's not something that's going to be streamed on Raiders.com, so I'll get as much as possible from it, and hopefully that conversation will be really good. And if it is, we'll bring it to the show coming up tomorrow. On Tuesday, I'm excited about Tuesday as well. Safeties coach Gerald Alexander, run game coordinator and linebackers coach Mike Caldwell, defensive line coach Rob Leonard, and cornerback coach Ricky Manning Jr. will all be made available to us as well. But that's not till Tuesday. Don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But excited about what we'll bring to you tomorrow. Of course, we'll recap whatever happened at practice today. If Antonio Pierce says something that I find to be pretty meaningful, we'll bring that to the show as well. And we'll jump back into the calls and texts at 707-654-4693. Until Tuesday, Raider Nation, take care of yourself, take care of your family, love on your family. Most importantly, as always, just win, baby.